When we reached the top of the steps to John's apartment, he kissed me. And he asked me, "How long have you been waiting for me to do that?" And wanting to sound like I had it all together, but completely thrown off guard, I think I might have squeaked out something like, "Long enough?" In reality, I had been hoping for that moment for several months as our friendship had developed, but it had only been in the week prior that I had been able to release the feelings of guilt surrounding that as the ink on my divorce papers dried. In reality, my marriage had been over for 2 years prior, but now I was officially a free woman. And I was fully enjoying that freedom as that first kiss turned into a second and to a third. And then John backed up and he said, "Before things go any further, I need you to understand I'm not looking for a relationship. I'm not looking for anything serious. I'd really like for this to continue, but I need you to know where I stand and what this is for me." And if my eyes matched what I was thinking, they would have been completely expressionless because this was all so foreign to me. So John excused himself to change his shirt for an evening meeting that he had, leaving me alone with my thoughts for a few minutes. And I sat there and I thought, could I? Should I? This is crazy. John is 5 years younger than me. It feels just irresponsible. It feels foolish. But in some ways it feels right. Like, this is crazy. But I had been adulting as far back as I could remember. I always tried to play by the rules and to do the right thing and to take care of other people. And at that point, where had that gotten me? I was newly divorced, $20,000 in debt, driving a car that broke down every 3 months, living in a second-floor room of a friend's house while I tried to put my life back together, working at a job at the same place that John did that paid the bills but that I really wasn't enjoying. And so, when John came back out and sat down on the sofa next to me, I gave him his answer. I kissed him. And the next few years were ridiculous. He'd sneak up behind me at the water cooler at the office and grab my ass, say something completely inappropriate, and walk off chuckling. We'd take our lunch breaks together by driving around town in his car with no concern about where we were going to eat. We'd get together an average of once a week, and sometimes for a movie and for a meal, sometimes for a deep, rich, full conversation, sometimes for sex, and sometimes for all four. After we stopped working together, we had a standing Monday afternoon date. I would go to his apartment, I would kick off my shoes, go up the stairs for some combination of those four things. And there were certainly times during those years where I was like, what am I doing? This is ridiculous. Including the time when his roommate came home early and decided to knock on his bedroom door and say in a very chiding way, "John, do you have a girl in there?" I half groaned, half giggled at the whole thought of it and thought, this is just nuts. I am almost 30 years old. Why am I doing this? But it didn't stop me from coming back the next Monday. A few months after that first kiss, in one of our multi-hour phone conversations, I told John that I was a little worried because I was feeling like maybe I was falling for him, and I knew that that would end the arrangement that we had, and I wasn't sure that's what I wanted. And he said, my intentions and my thoughts are still the same. He said, the ball's in your court. He said, but I completely understand if we need to stop. He said, but I want to ask you why. What's changed? And I said, I am overwhelmed by the care and respect that you have shown me during this time. His intentions always seemed to want what was best for me. We had these deep, rich, long conversations. We could talk about anything. And he always seemed to want me to enjoy that time together as much as he did. And I said, it's foreign to me. And he stopped for a moment and he said, Mandy, he said, I want you to know something. He said, I don't care if it's your boyfriend, your husband, your best friend, your dad, your brother, your neighbor, your cousin. Every man should be treating you with that level of care and respect. And not only should you expect it, but you should demand it. And I said, that's great, but that's not always how the world works. And he said, but it should be. And I said, but it isn't. And he said, but it should be. And I said, but it isn't. And he said, but it should be. And we went back and forth like this a few more times before our conversation drifted off into something else. At the end of that conversation, we decided that things would continue as they had. We would check in regularly about where my heart was, with no promises of how long this was going to last. What I didn't realize is how much I had changed after that conversation. John's now happily married. I was at his wedding, and I still see him and his wife every now and again, and we exchange hugs and pleasantries. I have returned to the world of full-time adulting. And disclaimer, all of this happened before I went to seminary and before I started serving the church. But you know, while I wouldn't make those same decisions now, I don't regret them. I don't feel any shame or embarrassment by them. I'm a better person. And every relationship that I enter, I expect to be respected and cared for. And I don't know that I would feel that way if it weren't for John. And I'm truly grateful for that. Thank you.